Can you imagine not knowing a world where you don't know what the word COVID means, or a world where you don't use AI or don't know what AI is or don't know that AI can be something you use every day? This world has changed so much in the last 5 years, so much in the last 10 years, and it affects your branding and your business promotion vastly. In this episode, I want to share with you how the climate has changed, especially in the online space, what you need to do about it, and make sure that you're not missing the mark on what it takes to promote a business in 2025 compared to what it took in 2015. Let's dive in. Hi, if we haven't met before, my name is Jackie and I am a graphic designer who is obsessed with helping business owners market and brand strategically so that their businesses can flourish and thrive. And I do that through teaching people programs like Canva, how to think strategically, how to actually learn how to design themselves, because that is where things have really changed. But I'm starting to get ahead of myself, so I'm going to rewind and we're going to take this from the start. I want to set the scene a little bit. Think about yourself in 2015. If you need to, grab out your phone. If you're not driving and listening to this or driving and watching, don't drive and watch on YouTube videos. Get out your phone and go back to your camera roll and see what 2015 looked like for you. I'm going to do that for myself right now because I was like, this is actually a really good idea. 2015, I wasn't married yet. I had no kids. I was just running my business. I started my business in 2014. So it was getting, I was starting to find my feet. I went on holidays. I was hanging out with my then boyfriend, which is wild. And life was pretty chill. There's no AI, no masks, no polarizing, horrible things happening in the world. I'm sure there were, but I was more oblivious to them because I was also 10 years younger. But what the world looked like, I'm just going to give you some examples here because there is a few things that didn't exist at all. Instagram had its feed was still chronological. Right now, it shows you what it thinks you want to see. Canva was only new. That only got invented in 2013. So chances are you weren't even using Canva in 2015. TikTok hadn't even been invented yet. iPhone 6 was the current latest model. The term personal branding was barely used and definitely not mainstream. No one was using AI. That only started in 2022, which that even 2022 feels like it was ages ago, but oh my gosh, this world is changing so fast. And for me, my business, was only just starting. I was still just working with a couple of clients, still trying to grow my business, still trying to put my name out there, still having branding that was grey and white, and everything was different. And what was also different was the way that you marketed. You could just post a couple pictures on Instagram. I remember all I was posting was cute quotes and designs I'd worked on for clients. And that was it. And my business was growing. You could just have a nice kind of static page website. You could just have maybe a Facebook page too, and business would grow. You were kind of getting business through referrals, maybe in-person networking, expos. And those things still exist, but it's a whole lot more different now. Now we need to be, I don't want to say it, but we need to be everywhere. We need to share a lot more content to get people across the line. This is going to be a little bit more relevant to those of you in online business, but still relevant for those of you who have different kinds of businesses, but especially online businesses like us course creators and coaches. You need to be so many places. We need to have so much content for people to digest. I'm going to share with you more of those reasons why in a moment. Even though I was, my coach was saying today how people often need like 7 hours of content for them to get across the line. And that can happen really quickly still. Like she was giving an example, and I've had this happen to me. If someone will see my YouTube video, then they'll binge the next 5 YouTube videos, and then next minute they'll purchase my course. And I haven't had to talk to them at all. Not that I wouldn't. Had to talk to is the wrong wording. I would love to talk to them, but I haven't needed to talk to them at all because my content has done the converting for me. Not the point, but saying having lots of content can be really helpful to grow your business quite quickly. Obviously, the market is far more saturated now than it was in 2015. Like, imagine the online business space in 2015. It was like taking baby steps, whereas right now there is millions of businesses everywhere you look, and we are fighting for attention. I also want to talk about how the quality is rising. So back in 2015, back in 2010, when I was kind of dabbling my feet into graphic design for the first time, I was learning programs like Photoshop and the free versions of Photoshop, and I don't remember what they were called at that point, but I was learning lots of things, even using MS Paint. Those of you who remember MS Paint. What that meant was that people like me who learned how to use those programs, it was like, wow, when we created anything, it was like, wow, how did you do that? You're so clever. Now, thanks to Canva, which I love, but it's also done me a dirty here, what I make isn't that interesting because most people can make this. People can jump onto Canva, grab a good template, and put out a pretty decent design relatively quickly and relatively easily. There's no like Photoshop subscriptions and all these expensive things to learn and do. It's right there, which is really great, but it also means that the quality is improving. Therefore, your quality needs to improve along with it. You can't just be posting like a plain text on a post graphic that's not really thought about, that you haven't considered the design of it, because you'll just get lost. People will just scroll past, it doesn't look professional, doesn't look great. Whereas if you need to be doing something really great to be able to stand out these days. We often need to have visibility on multiple platforms like Instagram or TikTok or LinkedIn or YouTube or Facebook. And while I don't recommend spreading yourself too thin across lots of these things, the reality is we do need to be at quite a few places to be seen. And even just the idea that so many things now are mobile related. Most people are viewing their social media, websites, PDFs, your courses all on their phone, making sure that mobile friendly designs are top of mind for you. And I think a really big thing too is that branding is evolving, and it's evolving quite quickly. You can see how much the landscape has changed just in 10 years. And if your business hasn't changed at all in that time, you'll probably be getting left behind. I always use that metaphor of Kodak, and Kodak was a really great brand with the top of the line for when people wanted to purchase film, but they did not evolve with the times. They did not start putting out digital cameras. They did not start doing this or that. They just got lost because they weren't keeping up. I know it feels kind of overwhelming, like, oh, I need to keep up with everything, but we do. We need to, if we want to keep on growing, unless we've got a really great strong niche that's not going to change, chances are is we need to evolve. And that can be fun. We can look at it and think, oh, this is fun. I can pivot, I can change. And that's an okay thing to do. And I found it quite enjoyable over my business. My business, for example, if I don't move, I will be getting lost. I was entering an awards recently and like, what are the risks to your industry? I'm like, graphic design, such big risks. Graphic design has huge risks. As a bachelor qualified graphic designer, I'm barely needed anymore. People can do their own graphics really well in Canva. So what did I do? I didn't just sit back on my laurels and think, oh, people shouldn't use Canva, people shouldn't use AI. I started teaching myself how to use those programs, and then I started teaching other people how to use those programs. And I've pivoted my whole business from just doing designs for clients on my computer to teaching you guys, to creating courses, to creating coaching programs. And I love it, and it's not for everybody, but it's this idea that we get to choose to evolve and we get to choose to grow. And what could that look like for your business? And not only does the world evolve, your branding has to evolve with it. If you still have the same branding that you had 10 years ago, something's going to have to shift because design styles have changed. What was popular, what I liked 10 years ago has changed from what I like now. And that's the same with most of our audience. So thinking through that is also a really important consideration, but not what I need to go into in this episode. And now I want to switch to how buyer and consumer behavior has changed, because that impacts drastically how we show up. So firstly, I think community is now a really big, important part of anything. People want to feel like, I feel like there's a whole other tangent, but our world is only getting more and more separate. We are getting holed up in our little homes and doing our own things more and more. Like we're not getting more and more sociable. We're getting more and more insular and only caring about ourselves and what we're doing and not seeing other people as much as we used to. And so people are still people though. We're still craving that community. And a lot of the time people are turning to that online or through maybe a business. And so for me, for example, I have an online business and I have courses and programs. Every one of my courses comes with a community aspect because people want community. I don't just sell a random thing. People actually want community and they want actual support. They don't just want, this is a thing. They don't just want to have, this is how you do this, this, and this, because they can ask AI that. They can get that result anywhere. But what you get when you work with me, for example, is you get that teaching, but you also get help from real designers on your graphics. I think that's really important. Thinking about how you can introduce into your business a community or a live support or a real personable aspect to it. Speaking of AI, I think that's really impacted a lot of things and what people want in business. People want people. They want another human. They don't just want some faceless business telling them, here are 5 tips to designing on Canva. They want to know you. And they might not actually say, like, consciously, oh, I want to make sure that I know the person behind this business. But subconsciously, it helps us to build so much trust. I don't care about a fake feed that's made by a fake AI bot, whatever. Anyone could do that. I could do that. I want to know you as a person. And so not being afraid in your business and in your brand to show yourself, to show the parts of yourself that are relevant to your business as well, or relevant to life, like actually making real human connections with community, maybe even fostering that on your online page, whether that's Instagram, encouraging people to message you, encouraging people to comment, having that connection, and also showing parts of yourself. Like I share regularly that I'm a mum of 2 little kids because that helps connect me to more people. AI isn't a mum of 2 little kids. It can make up stuff, but it isn't actually in the trenches right now doing the work of running a business and being a mum. So I share those things because it helps me get to know the people that I want to connect with online. It makes this business journey feel so much less lonely, and people are craving that in the businesses that they work with as well. They're craving that connection with you and your business. And while you probably feel, I'm not that interesting, I don't have anything special about me, you're still a human, and that makes you special. That makes you feel infinity times better than any fake program or business. And so own that. Share bits of yourself with your community, with your followers, with your email subscribers, so they can build a connection with you, and they're going to be far more likely to purchase from you when they feel like they're actually like even when I work with, like say working with my coach right now, maybe every single month I don't get the value of exactly what I put in because I don't probably show up as much as I need to. But even then I'm like, that's fine. I'm giving money to this person that I really enjoy as a human. And like, I'm very happy that I'm giving money to her. Same with my staff. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I should have just done that myself instead of getting my team to do that. But I'm like, you know what? I love being able to give money to them. And I think our audience feels that about us as well. I'd much prefer to give money to someone I know aligns with my values, or I believe in them, or I want to support them, than some faceless business. And so I think now, even more than ever, it's important to be ourselves online, differentiate ourselves from the robots and from the masses, and be a real human. And being a real human doesn't mean you need to be perfect. It doesn't mean you need to be polished. And it also doesn't mean you have to share absolutely everything about yourself and your life, but choose parts of yourself to share and own that. I also think it means we need to be more discerning and more clever and better at what we do. We need to learn, we need to upskill and create better services and products for our audience, because they can get stuff from anywhere. They can search on AI to get the answers to most things in life, but you need to make sure you're always keeping up with it, sharing maybe personal experiences, because AI can't do that, keeping up with the top pieces of information so that you can make sure that you're not getting left behind, all of these things. And also, when it comes to branding, don't just do generic, plain, boring old branding. Embed yourself into that branding. It's another way that you can show up and build connection with people. And also doing that consistently. Like, don't just change your colors or change your brand vibe or change how you show up every other day or every other week. Make that consistent, because there's a whole plethora of things out there. The more consistent we are, the more that people can begin to recognize us, begin to pick us out from the crowd and form a connection with us, rather than seeing all this other information, all these other options out there, because there are plenty of options. But building that connection and showing up visually consistently with the same kind of message, the same kind of offer, and the same kind of you, means that you can show up in a way that people can connect with and form an ongoing relationship with, and are more likely to remember, and are more likely to purchase from, and are more likely to purchase from again. And so if we compare 2015 to 2025, a business used to just be able to do a couple of posts, have a random logo, and not need anything else. Now you need to be a content creator. People are going to hate me from saying that. Don't come at me. But I find it so true. And as someone who does content create a lot of my business, I can tell you it has worked. We can't just show up with a couple of posts and a great logo and a static website. We need to be moving. We need to be posting regularly and learning to enjoy that process, because you don't learn to enjoy the process of posting content on your social media regularly, you're going to get burnt out. So find a way that you can enjoy it. Find a way to have fun with it. Find a way to push through even when it doesn't feel fun, because there are times where I'm like, I don't want to do a post. I don't want to record a podcast, but I do. And it pays off. Not only does it pay off with you getting exposure, not only does it pay off with people getting to know you, not only does it pay off with you being able to push through all of the information out there to get your message heard, because you're actually showing up consistently and people are beginning to see it. Because if I'm following you and you only post once a week, I'm probably not going to see it. But if I'm following you, you're posting regularly, I'm going to begin to see it more and more in my feed. I'm going to have more chances to like your content, more chances to comment, more chances to save, more chances for you to get seen in my feed, and more chances for me to purchase from you. So it takes that time. I also want to encourage you that, as someone who has put out over 200 podcast episodes, who is doing a podcast and tutorial every single week, it's actually okay, because you know what it does? It hones your skill. It hones your message. It hones your craft. I can guarantee that because I am putting out content every single week, that the results I get from my students in my programs are better, because I'm constantly challenging myself to have better ways of teaching, to stay up with the latest things, which means that I can then present that content better to my students. There are so many reasons that showing up regularly on my Instagram or on my YouTube or my podcast means that I actually become a better person to support you in your business. I'm not just resting on my laurels, having the same stuff that I learned 10 years ago being the same stuff that I teach my clients now. I'm having to hone my message. I'm having to hone the way that I teach, and that makes me a better person to work with because of it. So when I share with you, like, show up regularly, don't just think, oh, this is the algorithm, I'm going to do this and do that. Own it. Own the fact that you have chosen to run a business. Own the fact that you get to be an industry leader. Own the fact that showing up regularly helps you to be a better business owner, helps you to connect with your community. It helps you to learn better. It helps you to present and teach better, because business doesn't look the same. Even if someone hears about you from word of mouth, they're likely going to go to your Instagram. They're likely going to check out, are they a current business? Are they sharing things that are regular? Do I connect with what they're sharing? Does it feel helpful to me? Is what they're sharing relevant? Is what they're sharing something that I can see is going to be relevant and helpful to me? And they're asking all of these questions when they see our businesses. So don't just think I can just post once on Instagram, have a random Facebook page, and have a website like we could get away with 10 years ago. The climate has changed, and we get to keep up with it. We don't have to keep up with it. We get to keep up with it, and we get to enjoy that process. And you can still work out ways that are going to work in with your life and business. You don't have to create as much content as I do. Don't feel like you need to do that, but find something that works. Maybe posting 3 or 4 or 5 times a week and repurposing things that you've shared before. That is one of the reasons I love to do a podcast, is because When I do one podcast, we put 14 pieces of content out from that one podcast. I don't have to write 14 separate things or have 14 separate ideas for that week. I just create one podcast and repurpose different parts of it. Even if you don't do a podcast, just do like an audio note that's like you rambling about a topic for a few minutes that you've just maybe talked to a client about, and then put that through AI and say, can you please create 5 pieces of content for my social media from this? And it'll spit out some stuff, give you some ideas. You can refine it, create it, put it out there. Find ways to make it work. But the biggest disservice you can do for yourself is putting yourself in a victim mentality of, oh, it's like this now, it's like that, I hate it, I hate it. Change your mentality to, I get to do this, I get to connect with my audience, I get to put out new content, I get to hone my craft, and I get to find ways to make this work for me, and I get to find people to help me to do that if you need support, whether that's design support from someone like me, whether that's content management support from a social media manager, whatever that is, find someone to make that easier for you if you're finding it tricky. Because not just about doing more, it's about doing what you're doing, but doing it smarter. Like I talked about repurposing, maybe just sitting down and actually doing it, maybe giving yourself an hour or 2 a week, sitting down and smashing out some content, getting that out there so you can actually show up really confidently. Sitting down and maybe hashing out your brand, maybe working with someone like me to design a brand so that when you need to show up on your Instagram and on your website and on freebies and lead magnets, you actually have a brand to apply to those things so you can become recognizable. You can become someone that people think, oh, Jackie, she's the girl that does purple. Have those connections. Because like I said, 10 years ago, we didn't need that much brand recognizability because there were less businesses out there was less clutter in their online space, and there was less AI stuff out there as well, whereas now we need to really focus on doubling down on our look, on our style, on the way that we show up. So maybe do a couple things today. Maybe have a look at your brand visuals. Do you think that your branding and your logo and your colors, your fonts, your style, is that all still aligned with where you need to go and where you're going in your business and what it needs to be now, or is it stuck with 10 years ago? Maybe you have a look at your Instagram, audit your Instagram, have a look at your Instagram and put on the eyes of someone who's never seen you before. Does it communicate how awesome you are? Does it have a really great consistent theme so people can understand what you're about at a glance? And is the messaging clear? Can people tell what you do and who you help from your bio? Then maybe think about, am I showing myself enough at the moment? Am I connecting with real people as a real person? Am I showing parts of myself that is actually going to connect with people? And don't be afraid to do that. Maybe brainstorm some ways that you can show up, even if it's just sharing one fact about yourself or sharing a bit more of your personality online. And again, if you're feeling like you need support, do you need to join my course for business owners DIYing their graphics in Canva and actually learn how to do this faster and easier and in a way that looks recognizable and trustworthy and professional, knowing that the standard of graphics has gone up from 10 years ago? Or do you need to work more closely with someone like my design studio team or me inside my program called the Co-Creation Design Club, where we can work with you as like a bit of like your creative director and designing graphics with you to make sure that things are really looking premium so that you can stand into that next level, into this next 10 years of life and business. So think through those questions. Think through, what is my business caught up? Is my business actually running like it's 2025, or am I still running like it was 10 years ago? And I'd love to know in the comments of YouTube, if you're watching on YouTube, or feel free to send me a message on Instagram of, what was your life like 10 years ago? What were you doing? How were things so vastly different? What are some things like, were you surprised that the iPhone 6 was the iPhone that was out there, or that TikTok didn't even exist? Let me know in the comments. And I want to encourage you too, if you are listening to this on the podcast, I would love for you to review the podcast. Even if you have 1 minute right now, just jump into your podcast app and just chuck me a review, add in how many stars you give me, and let me know what you enjoy about the podcast. And it will just help more people find this podcast so they can be helped. If you're on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button, make sure you hit like, and maybe even pop in the comments of why you love the podcast. And if you've got a business friend, feel free to share my podcast with them. I would absolutely love to be able to help them in their business journey and their branding journey as well. So thanks for joining me today. I hope you found that a little bit insightful, a bit inspiring, and also a little bit encouraging that the business landscape has changed, but you have the ability to change with it. And I believe in you. Right. I'll see you next week.